Alright, we're watching Deli versus Akiyama, same plus random combo, no plus wall. I'm gonna be so out of it. I did not sleep last night. I hurt something in like my neck to shoulder, upper back region, and I just could not get comfortable. It was horrible. That said, um, we'll try to see how much we can think. And this morning I was trying to concentrate on things and just could not do it at all. But we'll see if we're doing any better. We're doing any better. We're approaching noon. Maybe at some point my brain will decide it's not just completely a non-functional. So we clearly had a corner replied to with a center starter, which is a common Akiyama trait, and Deli did something I tend to be a big fan of blocking one of the squares next to it, forcing the action in a favorable way, noting that Akiyama's only capture in 4 has a 1 facing out, so Deli can take that with high safe numbers facing out. So the question is, how can Akiyama approach the action? Incidentally, maybe Deli's starter was just really dominant and Akiyama had no other options. Alright. The other thing I was going to say was Akiyama also has a capture in 9. Deli has the combo back there, which is obviously quite strong, but there is some potential risk there because if Akiyama has setups, there is then serious combo potential through 5. And we can see here that Akiyama is trying to play on that. He's saying, I will give you the square 4, but if you take it, you will have to flip 5, unless you play 6-1-5-6. But if you play 6-1-5-6, then I get the 9 square. You will essentially have to flip 5, and if you flip 5, aha, I have 2. And with no walls on, you will not have combos back unless my cards happen to be really set up poorly, which I don't think is the case. So if you're Deli here, what are you thinking? We've said like what Akiyama is generally thinking. I'm sure there are more specifics to it than that. You could be saying, all right, let's figure out how 4 works. But it really does seem like 4 is well met by 2. I am very skeptical of 4. So the next kind of square I think you look is 9. You say, okay, can I just do something in 9 and move on with my life, be happy? Now, the only card that's safe in 9 is 6-1-5-6, which is a card I was kind of trying to hold on to, but I was holding on to it because it covers 9. So maybe you can just use it 6-1-5-6 and 9. Now, Akiyama does have a capture in 4, so Akiyama can go up 6-4 there. And it certainly seems like Deli can tie, for instance, 5-7-5-1 and 6, or 4-5-3-7 and 2. But it does look like there probably aren't winning options there. Interesting. This leads me to another idea. Can we meet excitement with excitement and play in 3? Probably not. But I do kind of like the look of 5-7-5-1 and 3, just on a like, okay, if you have 4, I now have a same in 2. And it doesn't set up 6, does set up 6 for you. Scratch that. Sorry, I was combining 2 cards. I was combining 4-5-3-7 and 5-7-5-1. So it could have a 1 to the left setting up a same, and a 3 facing down, not setting the opponent up. Sadly, such moves are illegal. On the other hand, 4-5-3-7 and 3 is kind of fun, because 6-1-5-6 still has some play in 2, but actually, no, the combo never matters. Okay. So, to be honest, I don't have anything here for Deli. I don't see any potential winning paths. I didn't seriously check 6-1-5-6 and 4. I didn't seriously check anything, but shh. But I think 7-4-1-6 and 9 there is comfortable tie. Like it's possible Akiyama has more than ties, but like it's at least a tie, right? Um, might be more, but I don't think so. You almost always have like 5-7-5-1 and 6 and 4-5-3-7 sweep side to side. It is like I'm sure there are losing moves here, but it does feel somewhat hard to lose for Deli. He has picked up 6156, which I think is going in 9. I think this is a pretty fantastic tying idea from Akiyama, saying, I have no squares, all I need is 2. I think that's one of the differentiating features Akiyama has that makes him so often a spectacular defender, is that he is so capable of saying, I only need 1 square to hold this position. Now, like, he has a threat in 4, but he's just saying, like, if I play in 2, that's fine. I don't really need anything else. It's good that I have something for 4, sure, but yeah, what an interesting defense. And I don't really see, like, it's not just that I don't think Delhi had a win. I'm not sure where it would be. Like, if the solver was going to show some spectacular win. You know what often happens, though? I'm like thinking, like, there's got to be something, like, spectacular here. Where would it be? And the solver's like, nope, go in the normal square. You just didn't calculate it deep enough. 4 works, or something like that. But I don't think that's the case here. Oh my god, Akiyama went 4, 4, 5, 6, and 3. Just max going for it. That mean Delhi's move 1? I didn't think it won. Why did it win? What did I get wrong? Because Akiyama doesn't have 2 now. Like, or Akiyama doesn't. Oh, he's what has he picked up? I'm blanking. I've forgotten all the cards that are in the hand. 7, 3, 6, 3. Okay, okay. So sorry, this does time. Okay, I went crazy there. First, I decided because as said, brain is gone. That Akiyama only had 7, 4, 1, 6 left in hand, and because he only had 1 card, that made me think it was Delhi's turn, and chaos in the brain. All right, well that was horrendous for me, but quite interesting from them. Really interesting defense in 1. Oops, did not mean to show you my Discord. Let's close that. Um, yeah, interesting game. Akiyama really is so good at these, both just understanding where his combos are, but also, especially through 5, which is something I struggle with, but also, just only needing 1 square. Like, we didn't talk about this because we missed the first kind of 2, 3 moves of the game. But one thing Akiyama is so good about with 5 replies to corner starters is saying, I'm going to set up 1 square and that's all I need. As long as you don't have a good way to block it, I'm fine. Here it looked like Deli had a pretty good way to block it, and Akiyama was still fine. I approve everything Deli did in that game. I think Deli played that both exactly correctly, but how I kind of think you should generally attack those formations. But really, really nice defense from Akiyama. As I've said in a lot of videos, just because you don't win doesn't mean you screwed up. And sometimes you see really cool defenses from the player that seems behind. All right, Akiyama has first turn. I'm kind of expecting to see 3, 6, 3, 6, and 6 played really quickly. Obviously, not a move I like, but a move many people do. Though, of course, Seto just showed in his last game against Delhi, those safe side starters are more venomous than I tend to portray them as. There's also 7, 3, 6, 2 and 6, 3, 6, 4 making a pair, so you could easily play 7, 3, 6, 2 and 2 and have a nice recapture. There are lots of side starters here for the classic way of doing side starters. I just fell asleep in my head. Alright, I'm here. I know what's going on. We're gonna see a side starter. Maybe we've already seen it. Nope. Akiyama really taking his time, 110 seconds on the starter. Alright, let's look at that top card's mustache. What do we think of the mustache? The guy's certainly into it. You don't sort of put your fingers around your mustache to curl it if you're not quite excited about your mustache. I just don't think it's really working on him. Yeah. No, I'm a mustache fan, but I do tend to prefer it with the beard rather than the goatee combination. What are we talking about? I do love the creepy tree. That's always a great card to see. 1657, kind of funny looking too. Deli has sevens in two directions. He has a six to the right and a five facing up. So you could also check is 5256 and three, or 4574 and three looking good. You should check those. I'm lazy. Uh, and I have a good excuse today. My back really hurts. I'm a sort of tosser and turner type, but I couldn't move onto my right side because the shoulder was all wrong. Um, and when I can't move to one side, I get like really antsy in a position as I'm falling asleep. I need to be able to like rotate a bit to fall asleep. Though it's just really tough. Then I get to sleep for like an hour at a time. Ugh, not a good night. Probably put like an ice pack on this or something. I don't know. I have no idea what it's from. Just back was feeling a little weird for a few days and then suddenly went real bad. All right, not important. But it is the only thing I can think about, as is the case. What's the line about like man is an intellectual giant until he gets a toothache? That's not the exact phrasing, and it might not be as gendered as I just said it. I don't know. But there's some line about like you know maybe it's a Douglas Adams line. I'm not sure. I'm gonna Google that. Toothache quote. I think it's about toothaches. Maybe it's maybe it's Pratchett. No, there's allegedly. You never know when you Google things and see those images that like people like to share on like the stupid inspirational quote accounts. There was never yet a philosopher that could endure the toothache patiently. Allegedly Shakespeare. Is it Shakespeare? Let's find out. Toothache quote Shakespeare. Is it legit? Seems like it might be Shakespeare. All right. Well, my guesses were completely wrong. Okay, so we do see a side starter. Presumably, he checked the moves in three, and Deli had setups or something else that moved him off it. So he goes for the move in six, which was my initial guess. Now, the setters of the world look in one and seven and find ways to play challenging corners that both create difficulty for Akiyama's hand, but he also sees like potential control of the square in nine and ways to attack captures and all of that, and does a nice job of that. I am a lazy simpleton, so I go, aha, I have safety in three or nine. Wonderful. Can I follow it up with a setup in two or eight that sets up five, and that I have a nice recapture from one or seven if needed? And if I have all that, I'm pretty pleased. Where might we have that? I noticed that 4574 and 2 sets up 5 for me, but not for Akiyama. That's all I'm looking for. So my first instinct is one of the sevens to the left in 3. Akiyama goes 9. Play 4574 and 2. And call it a day. Probably use 5347 because 1657 is going to be more useful recapturing. And that seems like a plausible way to play. Another way to do it, start in 9, play 4646 and 8, and you have 5646 ready to go in 5. But the downside to that one is if the opponent blocks 5, unless that sets you up in 2, might be a little bit of a problem because we don't have great recaptures of 4646 and 7, which is to say we do not have recaptures at all. You still want to like calculate further there if you're being, smart, which I am incapable of. But like you want to check, does anything they could block 5 with happen to set me up in 2? Do I have potential setups in 1? There's still stuff potentially there. You don't need to give up on the line there, but I'm going to give up on the line there. Another idea is to land 5646 and 8. to set up either 1657 or 5347. So you could start with either one of them in 9, land 5646 in 8, have an easier time recapturing. But you have higher numbers facing down than up, and that makes, if you do need to recapture in 7, your number facing out is going to be pretty easy for Akiyama to deal with in a way that, maybe he can take and have annoying stuff facing out, for instance, with 7362. So I'm a little more drawn to stuff down facing, though I guess 7362 is just going to, whatever you land in 1 or 7 is going to kind of kill you in 4. So that's very annoying. So that might be a problem for all these lines. But, and that sort of goes along with where I horribly miscalculated the last Delial game, where he set up an L and I just assumed it was completely safe and no risk. But because of the angle of it, Seto essentially had a great card for the equivalent of 4, where whenever Deli lands in 1 or 7, Seto is a really good capture and a decent sweeper for the endgame resulting, the last couple moves. So there is a thing of, with these side starters, having a card like 7362 can be really key in a lot of those Ls. Like a lot of those Ls, that's going to be relevant. The fact that that card can't be beaten up or down by Deli's hand. That said, I'd probably just go 3. Now, the downside of the plan I found in 3 is that 4574 is not amazing. In 2, because it's kind of the only card in your hand that can't be taken by 7362. So maybe there's some kind of sequence where you play, say, instead 5347 and 3, and then 1657 and 2. I know you don't have the recapture from 1, but they don't have that many captures from 5, and both of their captures have a 6 facing down. So if you could just be set up against a 6 facing down, then you're good. There's probably going to be a 6 facing to the left in 9. Okay, you're not set up there. All right, that's a shame. Don't think there's anything there. Akiyama, last time I played him, I think, in something. I think this was the last time we played in a tournament, or like a weekly open, a minor tournament. I played a side starter in 4. Had a really poor hand, but like side starter looked okay. Play absolutely brilliant move in 5, had me crushed everywhere. I couldn't find anything. I had 1 tie in the position. It was in 2 after 4 and 5. Right, Deli starts in 2. Now, my instinct in general is I really like meeting sides with adjacent sides, but I normally do so when the L builds out the wrong way. So let's say I had decided this is my card for 2, right? And then I would check, do I want to go in 3 or 9? Here, I can go in either of 3 or 9, so I would have just gone in 3, and my opponent goes 9, and then I play this move in 2. This wasn't one of the setups in 2 I looked at, but it looks very reasonable. But like, I think you normally would sequence it. If you have 3, then you can start in 3 and then play this move in 2. You don't have to give the opponent 3. But there is a case for it. There is a case for it despite that. My general instinct is like, if your L setup is in 2, but your safeguard's in 9, then you can start in 2, they go 3, and then you land 9. The sequence works. If your safeguard's in 3 and you can go 2, just play 3 and then 2. That's my general heuristic. What I think Deli is going for here, though, is a lot of the positions with the more natural L's, where the game goes 3-9-2. The opponent blocks 5, as we've said, and there's kind of clumsy recaptures in 1, and then 7-3-6-2 sweeps you. But this might set up a situation where, in those positions, you have 3, and you're sort of trying to recapture or guard 2. But if you can force the opponent to go in 3 and you go 9, then you have 6 and 9, and you get to attack 3. So it's possible this just gets a better version, and I underestimate, even though I'm a big fan of adjacent sides, and I think I did a lot to popularize them, because I wrote an Occult fan article about them. Obviously, I'm sure players had played them significantly before that, but I think I did some work to popularize. But it could be that this goes for the better version. What Akiyama has done is he's left 3 and 9 open, though. And one disadvantage of this type of move is sometimes you can get a better version, but you do force it less. And so Akiyama has just grabbed safety, and he said, okay, you grab 3, I'll have time to grab either 5 or 9. But Deli has good play in both 5 and 9, so Feels like Delhi can just play 3 at this point and have a pleasant position. Um, Probably a tie. Like it's easy to imagine Delhi plays something like 5-3-4-7 and 3. Akiyama say plays 4-4-5-7 and 9. Not sure that's the best move, but it's just one that seems pretty straightforward. Delhi plays 4-6-4-6 and 5. He takes a 6-4 lead. All is good, but Akiyama can land 5-2-5-6 in 8, and Delhi has no captures. That makes it 5-5, and Akiyama has 7-3-6-2, which doesn't win because 4-5-7-4 is safe, but is actually rather close to winning. All right, Delhi picked up a different card. Delhi picked up 4-6-4-6. Why did Delhi pick up 4-6-4-6? Is 5-3-4-7 a better card to land in 5 than 4-6-4-6 is? I'm skeptical. To me, this seems less natural than 5-3-4-7 and 3, but I'm sure Delhi has a point. I'm not. I don't trust what I think right now. I may sound similar to usual, but my thinking is much more heuristic based. I am calculating almost nothing, rather than my normal commentary where like I'll calculate a little and then get lazy. This is just like, what do squares look like? I find 4-6-4-6 and 3 is surprising. Oh, God, my back. Oh, this is horrible. Got this weird like numbing in my upper arm too. I must have just slept on my arm terribly, and like that had some weird combination with the back. Anyways, but like there's this weird feel like when you get a shot, like a COVID vaccine, everyone has like slightly different reactions or non-reactions. But like for me, I get this like dullish feeling in the upper arm where the shot was, for like other shot types too sometimes. That's like not very painful, but like dull, like feels like dull pressure there and just feels a little weird and a little stiff for a while. And it's fine. But like it's weird to have that while having this other pain going up to the neck. And that makes me feel like it's like more like when you sleep on something really weirdly and badly. But it's just weird. Not happy about it. We'll see how it looks in a few days. Should probably ice it. And maybe take some like I'm not a like something hurts, it'll hurt, I'll get over it. Like I have no opposition to taking things like ibuprofen, but I just always have the attitude of like I will deal with my whatever hurts whenever I like injure myself and not do anything besides deal with that pain. But this is worse than normal methods of injuring myself. I talk like I injure myself all the time. This is not the case. I didn't really consider starting in 9. Um, don't see why this would particularly appeal, but I'm sure Delhi figured it out better than I have. Um, as a kid and teenager on my soccer team, football for you Europeans, but everyone knows what soccer means. On my soccer team, where I was one of the worst players on one of the better teams. My general skill was like I am good with my feet and decent technically, and my weakness is I am slow, get tired quickly, and I'm not a very good athlete. Um, but for the little time I do run, I'm pretty decent, or at least was for like a crummy youth level. Lots of triple tried players, much better than me at soccer. Anyway, on that team, we had this horrible practice field where like the like left third of it was just like constant potholes. And so you'd like try to stay on the other part of the field, but they're just like there wasn't space sometimes. and I just twisted my like I would sprain my ankle once every few months, kind of thing. It was terrible, like really not good for the ankles. Luckily, they've been in pretty good shape since, but I'm just gonna talk about injuries today. That's what I'm talking about. But like, so my teenage and like 8 to 14 years old, kind of pre high school, I guess, was just spraining the ankles over and over again. Um, Other than that, just like random stuff of like landing badly when playing sports, kind of things. Um, Nothing too severe. One of my best friends in high school was amazing at getting injuries. Just a person who like went really hard at everything. I remember when I went to middle school with him too. In a middle school, like our gym class, the person would make us just play a random sport and leave us alone while we played it. And so one of them was like basically indoor field hockey, and he would just like dive at the ball. We had a ball, not a puck. Um, I think we had a ball. Oh, maybe it was a puck. But he would just like dive at it, and other people would like not swing their hockey sticks because they wouldn't want to hurt him. And then he'd get the puck and be really proud of himself. And it was so frustrating because like we would all work so hard not to injure him, and he would be like, "Yes, I'm so good at this. I always like can steal it from anyone." And it's because that person didn't want to hurt him when he did something like abjectly dangerous. Um, and he had a very impressive list of injuries that I cannot compete with. I just sprained my ankle over and over again. He burned his hand off when he decided to slap some very hot glue. Um, that was really bad. He stepped on a nail. That one wasn't his fault. But then he stepped on like something else that just injury after injury. One that wasn't his fault was he was a keeper in high school, and he got kicked in the face by a striker, and it was really bad. Uh, as he dove for the ball. Because again, he always goes hard. I mean, it was the right play. Like he went for the ball, and the opposing striker should not have kept going and was not very close to the ball when they kicked him in the face. And we hated that school for the next few years until we graduated that did that. And yeah, they were our greatest rival. Also, they had a very annoying mascot. Like we were this like very small high school in this division of very small high schools. Like having a mascot was already kind of weird, but theirs was very annoying. Big cardinal. Okay, I'm gonna assume they've figured stuff out here. Uh, Something like Delhi plays 5, goes up 6-4. They play 8, make it 5-5. Delhi has no captures, call it a tie. Something like that. Probably there were nice subtleties to this game that I missed all around, but that's okay. Much more important to talk about injury histories of random people in high school. Kid in my high school. So I was talking more about my town soccer team, but my high school soccer team, we had this kid. He was a year younger than me. He was so good. Like when I say so good, I mean like good college athlete. Like clearly should have been a good college athlete. He ended up playing a bit in college, but not taking it very seriously. But like clearly should have been like a very good college athlete. The captain of our team briefly went sort of like he called it semi-pro in Canada, but the point was like on a team where they did pay him small amounts of money to play um, in Canada, and he was the captain when I came. He was a year, 2 years above me, 2 years above me. So he only overlapped 1 year with this kid a year below me because high school's 4 years. One's two above, one's one below. But the kid a year below me was just as a freshman already better than the other guy as a senior, and we won the league that year. And that kid was like again just insanely good for our level of small school. I don't know how to like calibrate it to like how good he was compared to good college teams if he had pushed this or anything, but I think he was legitimately good. So he was our main central midfielder. We played like dumb formations like 4-4-2 diamonds, but like the common stuff that you teach youths to play rather than like what adults actually play. Um, like stuff with like sweepers, stuff that you only see, fittingly for Akiyama, you only see in Italy or at like amateur levels. Um, But anyhow, so he was a central mid, sometimes attacking central mid, um, and he wins MVP of the league 3 years in a row. And then I graduate, and all the like good strike. It is a little unfair, but like a lot of the other good players graduate. I'm not saying I was one of the good players. I was not. Um, but like some good players graduate. Anyway, I go back and see him because later we did some basketball coaching together. But his senior year as a central midfielder, he averages a hat trick for the season. Just insane. Like, and I don't even hear about it from him because he just like he doesn't care. He's just like I enjoy competing and like sometimes I do well. But like I heard about it from someone else. They were like, "Did you hear he averaged a hat trick?" So I go to him and like, "Dude, you averaged a hat trick as a midfielder," and he's like, "Yeah, but it's no big deal because like some games I only got 1 or 2 goals, and other games I got 4 or 5. It's not like I got 3 goals every game." And I'm like, "Yeah, I understand how distributions work. That's insane, dude." Man, he was good. We had another we had some weird forms of competitive people. So he was like very competitive, but in like a I want to compete way, not in like I'm gonna glory about the insane numbers I'm putting about way, which was really like refreshing and nice. We had another kid, the semifinals one year, um, so we do see 5 and 8 as expected. The semifinals one year, uh, we had a kid, a winger, and we're down 2-0. And he scores in the second half. We're down 2-0 going into the second half. He scores a hat trick of goals that are all exactly the same. Someone like boots it up to him on the wing. He beats his guy, comes in, and at the top of the box hits the far corner with a low shot. Just like all like just identical runs. And after the game, we're like celebrating and congratulating him. And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of feel bad for that kid I kept beating and their keeper. Like, you know, I wish I hadn't had to do that, but I guess it was good that we won." Great guy, really, really great guy. Just not a mean bone in his body, but like, so like, legitimately just felt bad that he had done that to the other team instead of feeling like happy that he had done so well. Good for him. Some good people at my high school. Not in the administration of the high school, but many of the students. All right. I think they said they were only going to play one more. I'll go check. Hopefully that was a fun game. Hopefully it wasn't too horrifying to hear me talk about just random, very unconnected nonsense. I'm really not here, so we do what we can. I guess I'll end the video. Take care of yourself. Be nice to your back.